unique.
Did you see the Godzilla from early 2000s that had Matthew Broderick in it?
We do not talk about that abomination. We do not talk about that abomination.
Hey, welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
I'm Noah.
And welcome to 2024, our first video of the new year.
Good to be here. Glad to survive another one.
Yep, it is good. How long have we been doing this now?
2 years-ish.
I think we started right before you deployed.
And yeah,
Took
but
a year off.
Took a year off and came back. Yeah.
Yep. So what are we talking about today at, I can't tell.
Never would have guessed. We're talking about the Monsterverse. Legendary's Monsterverse. The Godzilla and Kong franchise.
Yeah, so
we've done Kong Skull Island,
yes.
which linked there. But you never watched any of the new Godzilla movies.
I haven't seen a Godzilla movie, well, up until the last couple weeks. I haven't seen a Godzilla movie since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, the old rubber suit,
Exactly.
Raymond Burr stomping through the buildings.
And I love those movies.
Okay.
I absolutely love those movies. They are a guilty pleasure. And they're so cheesy and corny.
Okay.
But recently there's also been a lot of hype around Godzilla because -1 just came out and is absolutely demolishing at the box office. Was that a pun?
No, I was trying to remember -1. That's the new Godzilla movie.
That's the new
that I was
Godzilla.
supposed to go see and I
Yeah.
didn't. Yes.
So you watch these instead.
You got 4 for the price of 1, 3 for the price of 1.
3 for the price. So which ones did you watch?
All right, so I watched Godzilla.
Okay.
And then I watched, I finished Godzilla last night.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had seen Kong Skull Island.
Yes.
I watched Godzilla King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong.
Okay, so you
Right.
watched out of order, but you watched.
I've watched them
You've
all.
watched them all.
Yes. Now, I was kind of amused the first time you told me that there was a monster verse. And so I was like, all right, I kind of gotta see what this is all about.
Yep.
And beginning to think that, for a moment there, I was beginning to think that maybe I've become a movie snob.
Yeah.
that maybe I've been looking down on movies. But I have to tell you that I was truly surprised by Godzilla.
Okay.
I truly surprised by Godzilla.
So for clarification, we got Godzilla, which is the 2014 movie that kicked it off.
Right.
And it's just Godzilla versus the alien Mutos. And then you got Godzilla King of the Monsters, which came after Kong Skull Island,
Right.
where he fights Ghidorah, and there's Mothra, and there's Rodan.
Right.
And then you got Godzilla versus Kong, which is Godzilla and Kong duking
Right.
it out. Okay, so you're talking about the first one, Godzilla.
So I'm talking about, yeah, so first of all, apparently the monster's name is Gojira.
Yes.
I like that better than Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
So if I refer to him as Gojira,
That's fine.
because it's a better name.
Yeah.
And it's in part a better name because it's kind of new and it's a fresh take and it doesn't harken back to all of the rubber-suited 1950s.
It does. That's his original name is Gojira. The movie, the original Godzilla is Gojira, and Godzilla was the Americanized version.
Well,
was the
okay, but I've only
Americanized
seen
name
the
of-
Americanized version. So,
Yeah.
this was all news to me. This is all new to me. And so I just...
Oh no! So the history is that the original Godzilla movie, he's Gojira, and then when it was brought to America, it became Godzilla, and then that name was adapted.
Right, no, I
Going
understood.
forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
I tracked that.
Okay.
I just... But I never knew that. That was new to me. So when I'm watching the movie...
Okay.
And I think I started it Friday night, and I just looked at it, and I just said, oh, this is kind of interesting. I like it. So here's what I liked about Godzilla.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
2014. You really didn't see much of Godzilla. It was a movie that focused on the people and the characters, and it so that it the monster aspect of it wasn't overdone. Right. I just
Okay.
I just kind of liked that.
Okay.
Through watching all of these movies, I was amused at how many now big names were doing monster movies, and
Yep.
it's the Michael Caine effect. Either you just want the paycheck,
Yeah.
or you want the exposure,
Yeah.
or both. You just want to be an actor and you want to act. So I was surprised to see Elizabeth Olsen
Yeah.
in the movie. And then I'm looking at this, and what it was Kong versus Godzilla. I'm looking at the grade 2 level 2 engineering department
Yeah.
employee going, where have I seen him before? And I was like, wait a minute, that's the assassin from Bullet Train.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. And Brian Tyree what? Brian Tyree,
I don't
because he's
remember.
really
I don't
good. He's
remember.
really good.
Really good.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Yes.
And so and then
I remember having to look up his.
Well,
resume
yeah,
for
and
our, when editing our Bullet Train video.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, who
Was also in the MCU.
was Ford,
Yes.
the adult, Ford, was Tangerine in Bullet Train. Okay, so it's kind of like making all
And
these
Quicksilver
connections.
in the MCU.
Was he?
Wanda's brother. Yep.
Oh, gotcha.
And
All right.
was in Kick-Ass, I believe. I believe he's in Kick-Ass. Pretty sure.
And
He's
then,
got a resume.
and then Walter White,
Yep.
the crazy old man,
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was kind of amused by all this. I'm like, let's see, let's give it a go. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing this new one that's in the theater, just to see where they're going with it and what they're doing with it.
It's not linked to the rest of what you've watched.
Oh, that's
It's
too
not
bad.
linked
Okay.
because for Godzilla there's Toho, which is the Japanese company that owns Godzilla,
Okay.
the rights to Godzilla, and they make their own movies. And they do reboots they treat it more like Godzilla's almost more like James Bond's. Some of them are direct sequels to each
Okay,
other.
Gotcha.
Some of
I
them
understand.
are direct
All right.
sequels and are set in the same timeline.
Right.
Especially a lot of the old rubber suits. But a lot of times they just reset it with a new style, a new look, and they've done that with -1. Although with -1 they look to be setting up maybe a trilogy,
Okay.
and it was really good. And then you've got the Legendary movies, which are the ones by Legendary Pictures in America. They got the rights to make their own series, so that's what they're doing with the MonsterVerse. Is
Gotcha.
they're making these
All right.
these blockbusters, and I have loved these just so much because there's just they know what they are. They're not trying to be anything more than what they are.
Well, so Godzilla, and this occurred to me in the car on the way down here this morning. Godzilla is your cranky uncle. Godzilla is Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, who finally gets so annoyed with the neighborhood, he stands up and says, "Get off my lawn!" I understand this guy. He's the guy who just wants to sleep, be left alone, take a nap, and every once in a while he has to get up, and he's cranky because his nap was interrupted,
Yep.
and he's got to go set everybody straight,
Yep.
and then what does he do? He turns around and goes back to bed. Right? This is Godzilla. This is his role.
Yep.
And I'm watching the battle at the end of this movie, and I'm watching San Francisco get destroyed, and I can't turn off the little voice, and the same thing that was going on when I watched Boston get destroyed. I'm this little voice thinking, wow, the cleanup is going to take years. Like, the rebuild is going to be huge.
Yeah, but how cool is it? How cool. Grabs the bug alien by the mouth, tears its jaw, and
Okay, so that actually was where I was going next, because that was really a cool way of finishing up.
Decapitates it.
That is the don't mess with an old man. He's got one good move, and he's gonna use it. And that's exactly what that was. It's just, I never thought that I would identify with a monster quite as well as I did at the end of this movie.
That's the thing about Legendary. I'll get into this in a little bit, but Legendary's Godzilla is a character. Because there's two types of Godzilla movies. There are Godzilla movies where Godzilla is the plot device.
Mm-hmm.
And there's movies where Godzilla is a character.
Okay.
In Legendary's movies, Godzilla is a character. But I'll get to that more in a little bit, because I want to hear the rest of your thoughts, because I'll probably tie it in.
You know what? Some of everything was predictable. I mean, obviously, if I look at it, since I looked at it out of order, I knew Godzilla would survive. I knew he would win, you know, and I knew that. But there were other things that I noticed. Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
You get that Japanese scientist who's giving the history of all this, and you're getting the flashes of the characters on string.
Kuragawa?
Yeah, something like that. And he's talking about all the different monsters, and you see a flash of Kong.
Yep.
But he's never in the movie.
Yep.
You know, it's like, yeah, okay. But here's another thing that Kong as a character is really, really likable, because as a primate and being so closely related to humans, you can have compassion for him.
Yeah.
All right. If you've ever watched a Komodo dragon eat something, or an alligator or a crocodile, it's very, very. There's nothing loving or tender about them. Alligators eat other alligators, you know. So it's very hard to look at Godzilla and be like, oh, he's so cute. Look at, no, you know. Whereas. So when you're watching Godzilla versus Kong, and you've got this whole apex predator setup, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh wait, I figured that one out right in the beginning. They're gonna have to fight together to defeat the bad guy, and they're gonna have a truce.
Because
because
you have to.
Yeah, exactly. And so
also.
Hang on a second.
Go for it.
Take a look at the screen right there.
It's just a pop-up. Don't worry about it. We're still going.
And then so that was kind of predictable, but it's not that I was rooting against Godzilla, but I was kind of rooting for Kong, and I didn't understand why, and then I kind of realized that whole he's a little more human than Godzilla.
It's a little more relatable.
Well,
he's got facial expressions that you can kind of read a little bit more.
Exactly.
Although, who goes into this movie, and I genuinely want to know this, who went into that movie thinking Kong was going to win? Who? We have a 300-plus ton radioactive lizard dinosaur versus Big Monkey. I don't know who thought Kong stood a chance.
Apparently,
well, you were wrong.
Kong did.
I respect Kong for throwing up hands, but nah.
So throwing up hands.
Nah, you didn't stand a chance.
I've got this whole thing. I'm like, what parent in their right mind brings a child into these dangerous situations? This is a running thing through all of the movies. And you've got that cute little deaf actress who was doing all the signing, and then they figure out that Kong understands sign language and can talk, which was kind of a cool thing that they did.
It was a little cool, yeah.
All right, it humanizes Kong just a little bit. But I do like, and so we've got this actress in this movie, and we have got Hawkeye, where they've brought deaf actresses in and made signing a regular part of the movie, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really neat.
I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. It's no different for me than watching a movie in a foreign language with subtitles. It's great. So that was kind of fun, but all in all, I've I've just been going along for the ride. There's that certain level of suspension of disbelief, and then with this, I really have to just change the way I look at movies and just understand what I'm looking at. And,
Consume the content.
Well, to a certain degree, yes, just consume the content. But I just have to tone down the things that run through my mind that,
That's fair.
Like a building falls over. We know from 9/11 what it looks like when a building collapses and it's ugly. And they actually did do some of that in these movies, but not to the same degree of reality that we know from seeing that event. And I wonder if that's...
At a certain point, you gotta set it up like it's just a sandbox playground for these monsters.
Yeah, that's true.
And just let
go.
ignore the laws of physics and everything.
Yep.
Because
the CG's
according to the law of physics, this shouldn't exist. It couldn't exist.
So
based off height and mass.
This is true.
I don't know why Kong is able to swing on skyscrapers without collapsing them. Ignore it. Consume the content. Shut the brain off. He has an axe made out of one of these scales. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Where did that come from? That was
vague lore. Just believable enough that you'll buy it, but also unrealistic enough that they don't have to explain it.
Okay, well, so the only thing that I don't understand about this run of Godzilla, and you can explain it to me, is that sometimes he's fighting these two creatures, and it isn't until the end that he powers up blue and then shoots the blue laser, plasma, and then in the movie he's got to be revived with a nuclear weapon, and then he becomes Super Godzilla, and then he turns red at some point, and like, how the hell does all of that work? And then I just thought, okay, just don't even ask. Just let it happen.
Enjoy it.
But you love these things.
I love these movies.
Are you surprised by my reaction, or are you just...
I knew that these weren't going to be your cup of tea. I was pleasantly surprised that you did just sit and enjoy, because it sounded like you were just gonna tap out early on. And then this guy does a barrel roll and take out a few F-16s.
Yeah, I actually had to stop in Godzilla King of the Monsters for about a day.
Yeah.
I was 40 minutes in, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then I just hit the reset button. I was like, just consume the content. Just
the thing about Legendary's movies that I love so much is that they are a throwback to the old 60s, 70s, 80s Godzilla rubber suit monster flicks where Godzilla is fighting the monster of the week. Where there's just a monster and it's destroying the city, and then Godzilla just comes out and is like, I'm here to kick your ass, and then he kicks their ass, and then he goes back to the ocean. Like, that's
cranky uncle.
Yeah, it's they're so good. They're just so dumb, and it's just two guys in rubber suits just beating the crap out of each other. It's so good. They know what they are. This is just that cranked up to 11. You got a pterodactyl doing a barrel roll, taking out fighter pilots. Someone ejects and goes straight down the gullet. I love Rodan.
That was a fun sequence.
Oh, yeah.
That poor slob.
I know.
Because, he was awake inside Rodan's stomach for at least a little bit.
A little bit.
Wondering, WTF over.
I love they took it and they're like, we've got the CGI, we can make the animation smoother. What can we do with these giant monsters? And I don't know, having Godzilla and Kong fight on an or like a barge, aircraft carrier looking thing, was great. I loved it. I'm like, you're on. It's the equivalent of fighting on a raft.
Yes.
For these two, it's It's fantastic. I love it. I love it. It's just it's corny.
It was
it's
creative.
Stupid. It's creative.
Creative.
That you don't need decades of lore. You just need, oh, how does Godzilla get everywhere? It feels like they're literally writing up reasons as they go, and it's like, how does Godzilla move so fast? Hollow Earth. Oh,
Yes.
great! I just got our video with a tag underneath it with a link to a Wikipedia article about Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth.
Just for mentioning it. Thanks, YouTube.
Well,
And then you get the Hollow. Then they double down on the Hollow Earth and explain that's where Kong comes from, and that's where they're gonna bring all the monsters. So there's another one coming out, and it's Godzilla and Kong, Godzilla X Kong, which means they're teaming up. So they're teaming up against another big monkey and another big lizard.
if I see Godzilla in Kong tag in straight places,
I just want that. I want a fist bump. I want to see that.
You want to see the fist
I
bump?
want to see the fist bump. And they got Godzilla is glowing pink in this one. We don't know why. He's glowing pink. He's done that in the past. He's done pink. He's done purple. He's done blue. He's done red. He's done every freaking color under the rainbow. So
He's embracing the Sith side of his character.
Yeah. But the one that I genuinely want you to watch,
Okay.
and I want you to see if you can, is go watch -1,
Okay.
because -1 is more of a callback to what Godzilla started out as, and it's a movie where Godzilla is the plot, not a
Okay.
character. So like I said, there's movies where he's the plot
Mhm.
and movies where he's the character. In the movies where he's the plot, he's the bad guy. He's the force of nature.
Gotcha.
He's not able to be reasoned with. You either need to defeat him or you need to drive him away. Or he just comes in, wrecks everything, and leaves.
He's made his point.
He's
well,
made
like,
his
like
point.
he did at the company. He showed up at the company.
Exactly.
He destroyed what he needed to destroy,
And then he left. And
Yeah.
that's where in the first 2014 Godzilla, they were trying to balance that, trying to keep him as kind of the plot, but they knew they were going to continue these movies, so
Right.
that they made him just enough of a character in that movie
Mm-hmm.
to make him likable, because you got to root for the monster.
Oh,
If you're going to have Godzilla fight Kong, if you're going to have them team up to fight Ghidorah, which is a legacy character, that's another thing I love about those, is all the legacy monsters. You know, Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah, they're all great. I just lost my entire train of thought. No, but
that's okay. I have a new one.
-1 is where he is the plot, where he is the obstacle that must be overcome, and it's a human-centric story that just happens to have Godzilla, which I think is really funny, to have a movie that takes itself so seriously and takes its human character story so seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and then the threat is Big Lizard. And it's still, you can take it seriously, you could buy into it. It's so weird.
Yeah, because it hit all the right notes to care about the characters.
It does.
Yes.
It does. So I think you should watch that for
Alright.
your palate cleanser,
Oh.
and then next year I want to watch when it comes out. I want to watch Godzilla with Kong,
Alright.
Godzilla X Kong.
My biggest. This is gonna sound so. Of all four movies, the biggest suspension of disbelief violation, the one that just made me go, "Oh, there's no way that would happen," was Ford doing a Halo jump. First of all, why did they need? Really, they needed to do a Halo jump? Really into Sam? That man with no training should have splatted
splat.
on the ground. He should have just and then over with. That was my big complaint. Actually, was Ford doing a Halo jump. So you know, if you're like me and you haven't seen these movies and you've got some time to kill, if you are capable of just consuming the content and having some fun, pop
they're
the
great.
popcorn, get a drink, sit down,
They are
watch
great.
them in order. Kong Skull Island was a tremendous amount of fun.
It was a great movie.
And this is a good run to sit and watch.
Objectively, Kong Skull Island is the best out of them. In my opinion, in terms of as a movie, I think Kong Skull Island is objectively the best movie.
I wouldn't
overall.
disagree with that.
And
That's
I can separate that because
Right.
I really enjoyed King of the Monsters.
King of the
but
Monsters
as a
was fun.
movie, its only value comes in the entertainment of watching monsters beat the crap out of each other.
Oh, and there's one thing that you said to me. There's a comment that you made to me that made it very, very difficult for me to watch two of the movies, and that is it Millie Bobby Brown?
Yeah.
Okay. We were talking about the Star Wars universe and about recasting characters, like give Sebastian Stan, Luke, and you had mentioned that Millie Bobby Brown looks just like a young Princess Leia, and they should just cast her in it. And
Did I?
Yeah, you did. And I
but...
never got that out of my head. So the entire time she was on screen in two movies, I kept waiting for her to pull out a lightsaber.
Did you?
I thought, if she did,
I don't remember saying this.
This would just make this movie end so much quicker.
Did you notice the? It was really funny because it was only like a couple years after it came out. Did you notice Tony Stark's house from Endgame in King of the Monsters?
I did not.
Her dad goes to his like log cabin in the woods. It's the same set they used for Tony Stark's house in Endgame.
I did not catch that.
Like I'm 99% sure because it looks identical.
Well,
I'll pull up a comparison.
You know, we're binging Blacklist at home, and I'm looking at the season 6 court scenes and realizing that that's the same set that Matt Murdock was defending.
No, I believe that. I completely believe
Punisher. So I was like, oh, I recognize that set.
That's funny. The Monsterverse, Legendary's Monsterverse. What do you think of it?
Yeah.
What's your favorite incarnation of old Big G here? Come on, man.
He did that
this was your moment.
He did that at the end of Gojira until he woke up, you know, and made everybody wet themselves just a little bit. What is he going to do?
He's not on.
No. Oh, why? Does he make noise?
He rumbles.
All right.
Yeah.
That's this episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches, the Godzilla-verse, the Monsterverse. I think you should tune in and watch it. I really do.
All right. And then we should do -1.
We'll do -1. I'll go watch it.
Go watch it.
All right. Sounds good. Leave your comments below if you'd like more content. Please subscribe.
Thanks for tuning in.
And have a happy new year.
Rip his butthole open real quick.
I was about to say, is that where the babies come out? What is that? That's funny. All right.
It's great. It's great. No. Yeah. Excuse you, sir.
He's dead.
Yeah. He's still going.
You know, the one thing that I probably was really good that they saved the blue plasma for the end. They didn't overdo it.
Yeah.
Because it got used a lot in later movies.
Oh yeah.
And
once you introduce it.
Yeah.
And that's just his signature. That's his signature attack. That's his signature end all be all. The one thing that is almost is a staple now is how well do you do the atomic breath?
Because that is atomic breath.
It's what it's called. Yeah, it's radioactive. It's radiation, just like. But
so
the question is, how well do you do the atomic breath? And every incarnation of Godzilla, like from like 2000 onward, has their own version of radioactive of the atomic breath that's unique.
Did you see the Godzilla from early 2000s that had Matthew Broderick in it?
We do not talk about that abomination. We do not talk about that abomination.
Okay, say nothing.
That isn't Godzilla. That is Zilla. Because what happened is that TriStar bought the rights to make a Godzilla movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they made that abomination. And completely bastardized it. Anyway, it looked like a giant iguana.
Okay.
Toho hated it so much that they bought the rights to that version of Godzilla, renamed it to just Zilla, put it in their next movie, where it is literally a Godzilla World Tour movie where all these monsters wake up around the world because aliens summon them, and the real Godzilla just goes around and is kicking all their asses, and he goes to Sydney, where Zilla from the 1998 movie is in all its CGI abomination running around, and the real Godzilla in a rubber suit walks up and bitch slaps it with its tail into the Sydney Opera House, and then the alien that summons it makes a comment about how he shouldn't have trusted that fish eating whatever. It literally, they just completely
Wow.
they bought the rights just so they could kill it.
Wow.